mentioned earlier that our final awardee is Niall Fitzgerald, and when we did some research on this, we found an article in the Limerick Post that he was named the man to rescue Ireland, a prophet in his own land, because he is, of course, a native of County Limerick. I just read briefly the note. It says, "Bring in Niall Fitzgerald" is the cry from several commentators after the IMF went into deep discussions with the government on a rescue package running into tens of billions of euro. With the country experiencing turbulent times, there is a growing volume of support for business people of stature to be named and invited on board to steady the ship. One name put forward was Niall Fitzgerald. Business people of stature. I think there's no doubt that Niall Fitzgerald, through his experience in business, both in Ireland and internationally, is a person of stature in the context of leadership internationally. He's a BCom graduate from 1969 and was, until the end of May 2011, the deputy chairman of Thomson Reuters, following the creation of that new company in April 2008. Prior to this, he was chairman of Reuters from October 2004, having spent over 30 years with Unilever in a variety of commercial and financial roles in several countries. Niall joined the boards of Unilever and Unilever NV in 1987, served respectively as finance director, foods director, detergents director, until his appointment as chairman and CEO in 1996, in which he continued until retiring in September 2004. Although I think retiring is probably not the right word in that context. And during his Unilever career, he worked and lived in Ireland, the Netherlands, South Africa, the USA, and the UK. He has a number of accolades to his name, which we'll see on the video. He's been a leader in international business in Unilever and in Thomson Reuters over a long number of years. And in 2002, he was awarded an honorary Knight Commander of the British Empire and holds a number of honorary doctorates from American, British, and Irish universities. He also, interestingly, from our point of view, was on the board of Tsinghua University, which is a partner of the school in the SEMS programme. And long before many of us thought of China, Niall was there, showing again the vision of a leader and the entrepreneurship of a leader in that context. So this evening, I'm very pleased to announce the outstanding UCD Quinn School Alumnus of the Year, Niall Fitzgerald, BCom 1969. Thank you very much.
Niall Fitzgerald graduated from University College Dublin with a BCom in 1969. Niall was the deputy chairman of Thomson Reuters following the creation of the new company in 2008. Prior to this, he was the chairman of Reuters, having spent over 30 years with Unilever in a variety of commercial and financial jobs in several countries. Niall joined the boards of Unilever in 1987 until retiring in September 2004. In November 2008, he was appointed chairman of Hakluyt & Company Limited. He is also a trustee of the Leverhulme Trust and was appointed chairman of the Board of Trustees of the British Museum in 2006. Niall's previous roles, where he has shared his unique leadership skills, makes up a long and prestigious list. Niall was awarded an honorary Knight Commander of the British Empire in 2002 and holds a number of honorary doctorates from American, British and Irish universities.
I'm absolutely delighted to be able to congratulate Niall Fitzgerald for winning this award. I really think he's both an example to our current students and graduates, but also really a ringing endorsement for the calibre of graduates coming from this school.
He's a great man. One of the great things I think about him is that he always tries to get the best out of people.
I've watched him through Unilever, Reuters, Hakluyt.
He's somebody who has held the Irish flag high in the United Kingdom.
And he rose to the very top of the tree in Unilever, become the first and I think the only Irishman to date who's acted as chairman of that enormous company.
I met you, as I recall, in 1986 when I'd just been hired to join Unilever.
He's also very brave and generous in correcting people, even his friends, even his bald friends.
You developed an extraordinary cadre of colleagues, but particularly you developed enormous loyalty. I think a unifying principle is your commitment to people.
Was one of those most committed to getting rid of apartheid who was senior in business in South Africa.
His current position in charge of the British Museum is indicative of the esteem in which he is held here, which is not bad for a Limerick man, although I think he was probably improved by his education in Dublin.
He is the best chair I've ever encountered, and the way he holds together a large board, letting everybody speak, and then somehow persuading them at the end that they've all come to an agreement is astonishing.
Do you know something? I look back on my professional life, and if you take Niall out of the equation, then all the fun's gone.
So he's a great alumni, whoever produced him, obviously his parents and God, but the university must have helped as well. Congratulations, well done, you deserve it, and I hope you get many more.
Niall, congratulations and very well done.
Congratulations and well done.
Congratulations, Niall. Well done, a great achievement.
Have a great time, enjoy the honour.
Well, I've been told I should be brief but inspirational. I think it was Cardinal Newman, which is very appropriate in this context, who said that no soul was ever saved after 10 minutes. I have to say I'm left slightly uneasy by the words on the video from some very good friends, because I now have to live up to those expectations. And I think that was probably a Machiavellian plot on behalf of all of them, if I know them only halfly. Congratulations to Robert, to Emma, and to Colm. You're an inspiration, I think, to everybody in this room. Thank you, Kieran. And if I'm talking about inspiration, before I go on and before I forget, the person I have to thank most of all is my wife, Ingrid, who's here, who has been the singular inspiration in my life for the last 20 years. Now, the problem with being the last speaker is you have this terrible pressure you feel because you're between people and their dinner and their pint. And that can be an extremely dangerous place to be. I was in a doctor's surgery a few months ago, sitting, waiting to be called, and there was I was looking around slightly bored, and I suddenly saw a sign. As you see these supposedly inspirational signs in doctor surgeries, and this one said, rather depressingly, "Alcohol kills slowly." I was cheered up, however, because a previous patient had written underneath it, "Well, who's in a hurry anyway?" On the same theme, I was many years ago coming down from Belfast with a British diplomat. We'd been involved in some sort of behind-the-scene conversations and trying to get some sense on what was happening there. And it had been a very stressful weekend, a very difficult weekend. And we're driving into Dublin. I was driving at 3 o'clock in the morning, and this guy said, he said, I really need a drink. He said, anyway, this is your town. He says, is there any way we can get a drink? I said, no problem. We stopped at a set of traffic lights, and there was a Garda there. And I said, I'll ask him. He said, Christ, you can't ask a policeman. I said, yeah, I'll ask. He said, no problem. So I put the window down, and this very large Garda looked in, and he says, yes, sir. I said, you know anywhere, guard, where two thirsty men could get a drink? And I could feel my English friend beside me tensing. And the guard looked down at us, took his hat off, looked very stern, and said, no, sir, I don't know anywhere where two thirsty men could get a drink. But I do know somewhere where three thirsty men could get a drink. I remember on another occasion visiting Belfast. I used to go up there in the late 60s. Shows you how old I am. At the same time as I was studying at this wonderful institution. And I used to visit an oil mill up there, which was just at the end of the Shank Hill and the Falls Road. Very dangerous place for a young Catholic Irish Dubliner, a man from Dublin, to go. And I used to drive up there in an old battered Volvo. And I used to bring my dog with me. It was an Alsatian, because that was the only way I felt safe. So I parked the car and leave the dog in it and then go off what I had to do quickly and then get back. And on one of these occasions, as I'm locking the car, this little nipper comes up. He's about 7. And he looks at me and he said, Mister, do you want your car watched for 50p? And I looked at him, and I looked at the car, and I looked at my huge dog. And I said, no, thank you. I said, my dog watches the car. And he looked and he said, Mister, does your dog put out fires? So I paid him £1. He was obviously a future graduate of the Quinn School, showing such entrepreneurial capacity. The danger when you receive awards like this, and if I can say as the oldest recipient of the award tonight, to the 3 younger recipients, be careful, because people say lots of very nice things to you and they're very well-meaning, but don't believe them all, because people are just being nice, but it can go to your head. And it happens with all of those of us who've been privileged to be in positions of leadership, that people tend to tell you what they think you want to hear. And you can take that on board and just act on it, and that's an extremely dangerous thing to do. And many leaders get to the point where they end up thinking that they should have all the answers, and they certainly should have the last word. And my best example of that is a wonderful, probably most people in this room would never remember her because you're all so young, but Golda Meir, who was the great, great Israeli Prime Minister, who did always have the answer to everything and always had the last word. And on one occasion, her Chief of Staff came to her and said, Madam Prime Minister, that we have a problem with the Japanese delegation. She says, what? He said, Madam Prime Minister, the Japanese delegation wish to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier in Tel Aviv Cemetery. So, she said, let them lay a wreath. Madam Prime Minister, there is no tomb of the unknown soldier in Tel Aviv Cemetery. She said, so well, let them lay a wreath at the biggest tombs, they won't know the difference. So that was what was arranged. And the following day, the leader of the Japanese delegation took his wreath in front of the Prime Minister and everybody else and went forward to the tomb. And as luck would have it, he was the only Japanese in recorded history who had learned Hebrew. He looked very alarmed as he read what was on the tomb, took his wreath back and said, Madam Prime Minister, there has been a terrible, terrible mistake. She says, what? What mistake? He said, this is not the tomb of the unknown soldier. She says, no? Whose tomb? He said, Madam Prime Minister, it's the tomb of Mendelssohn. She says, Mendelssohn. She says, Mendelssohn. Great, great composer. As a soldier, completely unknown. However, allowing this to go to your head, I'm sure will never happen in Ireland, because the great capacity we have as Irish people is the ability to laugh at ourselves. And if we ever lose that, we're in serious trouble. Somebody was recounting to me the tale of Seamus and Mary, who were on Saturday morning over breakfast reading the newspaper, and suddenly Mary looked across at Seamus and said, Seamus, somebody won 50 million euros in the lottery. Oh, Jesus, that's great, he said. She said, Seamus, if you won 50 million euros in the lottery, would you still love me? I says, by God I would. And I'd miss you. I was once traveling on a plane from London to New York, and there was a lady beside me, an Irish lady, and it was clearly her first flight. She was very nervous, and she was having difficulty filling up the immigration form, these horrible immigration forms you have to do to get into the United States. And being the kind of nice guy I am, I said, could I help you with this? And she said, oh, yes, please, yes. And she handed it to me. And she'd half filled it in. Her name was there, Siobhan O'Dowd. Still remember her name. And various other bits. And the bit that really got me was, there's a bit, as you know, which says sex, M and F. And she ticked both. And then she'd written underneath, and sometimes also on a Saturday. Let me, actually that reminds me of another. I have to tell you one other one, I think. You know how difficult it is in the European Union to get agreement on anything? And you probably don't know, but the directive, which has now been for 27 years awaiting approval, is the one on the standard pack size for condoms. And it's a deep disagreement between the Italians and the French and the British. Because the Italians are insisting that the standard pack size should be 6, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but never on a Sunday. The French want it to be 9, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. The British, however, are holding out for 12. January, February, March. Let me, if I may, leave you with a thought on leadership. I'm now being serious. Thank you, Laurence. The Western world is beginning to understand that the era of ever-increasing prosperity may be over. The financial crisis has left many disillusioned with bankers, business people, and politicians. There are questions about the equity of capitalism and the free enterprise system. People are angry, some would even say enraged. There is little trust in leaders and leadership. Young people face more expensive education, higher taxes, less generous benefits, and longer working lives than their parents. Homes are either expensive beyond reach or indebted beyond their value. Jobs are elusive or non-existent. In Europe and the US, over 20% of those under the age of 25 have no work. In Spain, it's a horrific 50%. And it's not just the young. The middle-aged face falling wages and diminished pension rights. The elderly are seeing the value of their savings eroded while the cost of care escalates. In the meantime, bankers, and I apologize to those in this room, actually I don't, bankers are back to huge bonuses. Business leaders seem immune from austerity, and politicians are increasingly irrelevant. The gap between rich and poor is widening, resentment between generations deepening, and no one holds themselves accountable. So, why so bleak on this night of celebration? Because I'm an optimist. It seems to me that the very problems we confront may present us with our biggest opportunity. A chance to look again at how best to combine wealth creation and spreading of prosperity. A reminder to those of us in business that we have a wider responsibility than just the bottom line. You cannot, over time, have a successful business in a broken society. The renewed understanding that leadership is a privilege, not an entitlement. A leader has a chance to leave a mark on society which is beyond their personal bank balance. A rediscovery that true and lasting satisfaction comes from giving rather than from taking. My generation were given freedom to pursue our dreams and the means to achieve them. We must invest in the next generation so that we will be remembered with respect rather than contempt for what we helped others to achieve. It can no longer be about me and me and me, but about leaving something behind which is truly sustainable. And in this era of the adoration of celebrity, we should remember that there is no limit to what a man can achieve as long as he doesn't care who gets the credit. Thank you.
They say follow that, so we won't. I just leave the evening to yourselves, celebrate. Thank you all very much for coming. Thanks in particular on behalf of the school to Tara Collins, who's the unseen hand behind all of the evening. Concordagus Arish agus Buicus Liv Galer, Gamil Mahagwiv.
Hello again. I hope everybody is enjoying the evening. I'm just here to end the formalities and to let you know that the bar is now open in the reception area. We're going to have a jazz band playing to entertain you for the rest of the evening until about 1:30 a.m. So I hope you'll stay and enjoy the night. I'd like to say a few thank yous, if you don't mind. Thank you to the Four Seasons. They've looked after us very well tonight, and we really appreciate the care that you've given us. Thank you. I'd also like to thank my colleagues, Orla O'Malley and Maria Nolan. Without their help tonight, this wouldn't have happened. And they've just been a fantastic support, and thank you so much. Thank you to Pearl AV. You've been a great support and been fantastic. And obviously, once again, I'd like to thank our corporate sponsors, Tullow Oil, and to all of our silver and bronze sponsors. Again, we couldn't do this tonight. We couldn't pull this off without you, and we really appreciate your support. Tonight is all about people. It's about our alumni network. It's about our students. It's about our colleagues. It's about our corporate friends. And it's about you. It's about all of you. People make a difference, and to all of you who have come along tonight, you are what is made tonight, and thank you so much. So dessert is going to be served, after which the bars are going to be open. We'll have some entertainment, and I hope you'll stay. We're here till 1:30, so thank you all very much, and enjoy the rest of the night.